Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a really fun spice pick in the Holiday Cup, Shadow Piloswine. I have tried the regular Piloswine previously, but honestly, found myself a little disappointed as it didn't hit quite as hard as I was hoping. But today, we are back with the Shadow, and boy does it make a difference. Shadow Piloswine, while not a Pokemon I'd recommend for climbing rank, hits like an absolute truck. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and let's take a look at Shadow Piloswine in action in the Holiday Cup. Hopping into the first match, picking up a terrible lead Pelipper into a Alolan Graveler. We save switch into Shadow Piloswine, and we discover that it's actually a Rock Throw Alolan Graveler, which is actually a slightly better matchup for Pelipper than if it was Volt Switch, but a significantly worse matchup for Piloswine. We get a shield, and we commit the shield back, and now the opponent brings in Frostlass. The question is, do they know about Stone Edge from Shadow Piloswine? They do not! Stone Edge absolutely one-shots the Frostlass, and we are able to take switch advantage. We get farmed down by Alolan Graveler, but honestly, that doesn't matter. We have one of the hardest counters to Alolan Graveler in the game in Unova Stunfisk. Honestly, go for the Stone Edge, sure. Stone Edge is not going to be doing anything to Unova Stunfisk. We're able to hit back for double super effective damage. They have a grass type in the back. We bring in Pelipper, and it's actually Smackdown Chestnut, the absolute spice. So we are taking super effective, but the opponent is taking double super effective from the wing attacks. We're going to be able to reach a Weather Ball, and even though this is resisted, this will do some important chip damage. Pelipper able to farm down the Chestnut, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, and the bad leads do not stop in Alolan Graveler. We are going to save switch into the Piloswine, and we're met with Obstagoon. Unfortunately, Counter User is doing super effective damage to us, but as you can see, Avalanche hits so hard that, you know what? I'm going to shield up and take back switch advantage. We are going to shield up the Night Slash, Piloswine farms down, and I will happily take back switch advantage. And as you saw, that Alolan Graveler was running Volt Switch, but they bring in a Frostlass. Do they expect the Stone Edge? They do not. 2 for 2. Frostlass is getting absolutely deleted, but Piloswine is not done. We are going for an Avalanche onto the Alolan Graveler, and at this point, we bring in Unova Stunfisk. The opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match and picking up another lost lead, this time Altaria. We are going to save switch into Unova Stunfisk, as Unova Stunfisk does have a pretty decent Altaria matchup and can actually win the Zero Shield. And the fact that the Altaria is staying in, I'm choosing to take as good news. The reason being, hopefully, it means they're weak to Unova Stunfisk in the back, and if they are, then hopefully that means they're also weak to Shadow Piloswine. We are going for the Discharge. Discharge is starting to get Altaria low, and we're able to reach another. This will not KO, but it will get them very, very low, and we can hopefully farm down, and we're just not able to. They are going to be able to reach a move to take me out, but honestly, this isn't terrible. I will be able to bring in the Pelipper after I wait my switch clock and get a little bit of extra farm, but they don't let me, and they aggressively switch in an Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is pretty scary here, to be 100% honest, because the Pelipper taking super effective and the Shadow Piloswine is taking neutral, but we should be able to reach a second Weather Ball, which will be getting the second shield or doing some big damage. Weather Ball lands, and we're able to snipe with Shadow Piloswine. Now the question is, what do they have in back? They have Rock Throw Alolan Graveler, so they are running a Rock Hole strategy, which is pretty rough. But the question is, even without Bulldoze, can Shadow Piloswine clutch here? Shadow Piloswine farming up. We throw in the middle of their Rock Throw so they can't swap, and this Avalanche should be KOing, which it does. Piloswine taking out the Altaria as well, and able to get the 2-shield flex. Hopping into the next match, and the bad leads continue with Alolan Golem. We again save switch into Shadow Piloswine, and again, unfortunately, it is running Rock Throw. We are going for the Avalanche, we force a shield, and now the opponent save switches into Venusaur. We are not able to get to the Avalanche, we lose the CMP tie, but honestly, I'm okay with committing my shield if it means we get their second shield, as I'm hoping that shields down in the end game, Unova Stunfisk will be able to put in a lot of work. The Venusaur is able to farm down, but I should be able to get a nice farm on my Pelipper. I'll need to shield. The Frenzy Plant will do quite a bit of damage, but I will be able to leave with a move. My one worry is that the Alolan Golem was very close to a move, and I don't think I win the CMP tie. So instead of throwing here when they bring in the Alolan Golem, I am going to catch, and we're able to catch onto the Unova Stunfisk. That's huge. Rock Blast does basically no damage, and they have Roserade in the back, and at first this looks very, very scary, but then I remembered this is the Tho Tactical team, and on this team, the Roserade, instead of running Leaf Storm or Grass Knot, actually runs Sludge Bomb. So, thanks to this moveset, Unova Stunfisk is actually going to be able to beat Roserade. Mud Bomb gets them very, very low, and then unfortunately there was a ton of lag there. We are able to farm down, wouldn't have made a difference. Alolan Golem resigns the match, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, and unfortunately we get another pretty rough lead. We've got a Shadow Lapras and some weak connection. The Lapras farms up to 6 Ice Shards, could be an Ice Beam, but most people in this meta are running Skull Bash, and it looks like they are running Skull Bash as they decide to go for a Surf. We are going to go for the bait here with the Weather Ball. We're able to get the shield, and now if they try and farm down, we could have gotten to the Hurricane, but the opponent recognizes that and decides to take us out. I bring in Unova Stunfisk, and the opponent save switches into Sableye. And my thinking here is, if they're save switching into Sableye, then they may have a harder response to Unova Stunfisk in the back, and if so, I probably actually have to stay in here. Because Piloswine can take care of Shadow Lapras, courtesy of Stone Edge. They go for the return, and that does big damage. We are going to go for the discharge. This should get them low. And now, hopefully, I can farm down with Shadow Piloswine. Shadow Piloswine, able to farm down, and we do have shield advantage, and they bring back in the Shadow Lapras. And this tells me that hopefully they're weak to the Shadow Piloswine in the back, so we are going to overfarm rather significantly. Farming up, and we're able to farm up to 100 energy, and we're going for the Stone Edge. This will KO. Unfortunately, they do commit the shield. And honestly, these Ice Shards are neutral and they're adding up quite a bit. I'm going to overfarm as much as I dare, but I don't really want to get too low. And we're going for the Stone Edge. Stone Edge will be taking them out, and we'll have to see what they have in the back. Stone Edge takes them out. They have Venusaur in the back, and Venusaur cannot take a Shadow Avalanche from Piloswine. Goodbye, Venusaur. And that is a good game. All right, hopping to the next match, we have Pelipper into another Alolan Graveler. This one is running Volt Switch. We save switch into Piloswine, and they bring in Trevenant. I'm pretty sure that since I'm a Shadow Piloswine, I can double shield and farm all the way down here. I will throw an Avalanche just so I can force a shield, but I'm perfectly fine with double shielding if it means slipping switch, because I absolutely wall that Alolan Graveler with my Unova Stunfisk. The opponent does try to play to a CMP tie there, which is very smart because they win the CMP tie, but we are going to be able to farm all the way down, leave with a ton of energy, and in comes a Frostlass. We already know what's going to happen. Stone Edge, goodbye Frostlass. In comes the Alolan Graveler. We bring in Unova Stunfisk, and the opponent resigns the match. People are not prepared for the Stone Edge. Hopping to the next match against Sod Munir, actually a member of my Discord and someone who I have battled a couple times this season. Leading Obstagoon, which is a pretty okay lead for me here. We are farming up, and now we're going for the Hurricane. Hurricane will be doing big damage onto the Obstagoon if we're able to land it. Hurricane lands, and that connects, doing some big damage. We are going to commit the shield as I do want to try and win lead. They get the boost, they switch out, and they have a Frostlass save switch. And Frostlass save switch is a really big problem for this team, as unfortunately I don't have a great response. I'm able to get a shield with Weather Ball, but by bringing in Piloswine, I'm kind of telegraphing the fact that I have Stone Edge. We do survive Avalanche, which is very nice, and we will be able to get off the Stone Edge, which will also help, but they're almost assuredly going to shield. So unfortunately, we now don't have a great way of getting rid of the Frostlass. But if we can land this Weather Ball, we should be in a pretty good spot. We are going to shield that up, going for the Weather Ball, and the opponent makes an amazing catch onto Obstagoon, and at this point, I instantly knew that I had lost the match, as I have zero way of getting rid of the Frostlass. Frostlass will be able to reach an Avalanche versus my Unova Stunfisk, and this will be doing absolutely massive damage. We're going for the Mud Bomb, but unfortunately, we just basically have no HP left on our two Pokemon. We'll have to see what's in back. It's Talonflame, and unfortunately, Talonflame will be able to farm me down. So this is one of the rare instances where Talonflame ends up being a Unova Stunfisk counter. We get farmed down, I don't want to get Brave Birded, and I resign the match. So incredibly well played in that match, and we have 4 more matches from earlier in the day. Hopping into the next match here, again, Shadow Lapras lead, which is not the best for us. We are going to overfarm quite a bit, and we're going to bait the Hurricane, but go for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball does force a shield, which is very nice, and this could be the Skull Bash, but I am fully expecting them to bait. They go for the Surf, so they definitely do bait. And again, they recognize that I could have gotten to the Hurricane, so they are forced to empty their energy. I am going to bring in Unova Stunfisk. Unfortunately, Unova Stunfisk will get outpaced by a single turn as the opponent is able to reach a Surf. I am going to overfarm here, and now we're going for the Discharge, and Discharge on a Shadow Lapras should be enough to take them out, which it does. They have Trevenant, and now we bring in Shadow Piloswine, and the opponent is not switching out, and this is a good sign. As opposed to the regular, which cannot, the Shadow can 2-shield farm down. We are going to go for the Avalanche just to force a shield, but we should be able to farm down and leave with energy here. And so we are going to commit the shield, and the fact that they're not switching out is such a good sign for us. They're trying to get to a move, they're not able to do so, and it's their own Unova Stunfisk in the back. We go for the Avalanche. Avalanche does huge damage, and the second Avalanche is overkill at this point, but we are able to take out the Unova Stunfisk. Shadow Piloswine closing strong, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, picking up a pretty neutral lead, Pelipper into Shadow Victory Bell, and the opponent save switches into Shadow Lapras. Again, I don't really have a great counter to Shadow Lapras, but I am going to be going for the bait here, hoping that we can force the shield, which we do, and now I'm going to save that energy for later, and I'm going to bring in Unova Stunfisk. Surf will hurt a lot here, to be 100% honest, but if possible, I do want to try and get some energy in case they do try and snipe with the Shadow Victory Bell later on. I'm overfarming a lot here, and I make a big mistake. I play to CMP, but Lapras wins CMP. So I should have thrown one Thundershock earlier to avoid that problem, but again, growing pains with a new team. And the opponent actually survived that, and they aggressively switch in with the Shadow Victory Bell. We go for the Mud Bomb, and Mud Bomb is able to get them pretty low, and now we're going to bring in the Shadow Piloswine to farm down, but unfortunately the Razor Leaves do so much damage to us. That Lapras is still very low and back, and the question is, what is their third? And it is an Aerodactyl. We are going for the Avalanche here. Avalanche forces the shield, and now we bring in Pelipper. Pelipper is going to be going for the Weather Ball, and this will be getting them very low. It's the Shadow Aerodactyl. We're able to farm them down on very low HP, and Pelipper able to reach a Weather Ball that will take out the Shadow Lapras. And despite a very scary triple Shadow team, we are able to survive. Hopping to the next match, we have Pelipper into Wigglytuff. Again, Charmers are a bit tough for this team just because we don't have any Charm resistances available to us. We are going to farm up to the Hurricane and bait with the Weather Ball. Weather Ball, they actually call it, and now we're going to save switch into Shadow Piloswine, and we're met with Litleo. This is absolutely terrible because even if we had Bulldoze, Litleo would have to shield, so we're not able to surprise them with a one-shot, but the opponent makes a mistake. They think that we can get to 2, and they throw the Crunch, and wasting the energy there is honestly massive for us. As now Pelipper does not have to shield, we're going to be able to land the Weather Ball, and hopefully commit to the farm down here. Oh, we're just not able to. I do want to try and preserve this energy if at all possible, so we are going to save the energy, and unfortunately they don't bring in the Wigglytuff, they bring in their own Pelipper. So that Weather Ball ended up being a pretty big waste, but we have Unova Stunfisk, and Unova Stunfisk, of course, is doing double super effective damage to Pelipper. I am going to let the first Weather Ball through, and my goal here is definitely to overfarm, because we know the Wigglytuff will be coming back in at some point. We go for the Discharge, and we're able to force the shield, which is very nice, and as you see there, they were trying to play the CMP tie, but I actually didn't throw. I went for the extra. The opponent tries to snipe with the Wigglytuff, but we have the energy loaded. We go for the Discharge. Discharge will take them out. Back in comes the Pelipper, but Unova Stunfisk is able to win the race thanks to that snuck Thundershock. We take out the Pelipper, And despite our Shadow Piloswine getting absolutely destroyed by Litleo, we are able to win the game. And hopping to the final match, pretty rough lead in Altaria, and we are going to save switch into Unova Stunfisk. Again, the Altaria is staying in, so I do have some hope that the Piloswine will be able to sweep endgame. They're probably going for the Moonblast here. I do decide to shield it up, and it is the Moonblast, so honestly, that works out pretty well for me, and we didn't get the attack drop. We are going to be farming up, going for the back-to-back discharges here, and my guess is we'll probably see a shield from the opponent. Maybe not there, but this second one, as this will be getting them very, very low. Second one does force a shield, and they should be reaching a Moonblast pretty soon. I don't want to commit the second shield. Shadow Piloswine is not the tankiest thing around, so if possible, I do want to try and preserve shields for it, but we should get a nice farm down with Pelipper. Pelipper able to get a huge farm down, and oh no, they have an electric type in the back. We throw one wing attack, we should be able to get off this Weather Ball, and now we defer the Volt Switch onto Piloswine, and they have Talonflame in the back. Talonflame, of course, doing super effective damage with the Incinerates, but we have Stone Edge. They do shield it up. Now, this could get a little tough, but you know what? I'm actually going to trust in Pelipper in this match. They throw. I think Pelipper should be able to reach 2 Weather Balls, and if we're able to do so, I believe the Alolan Graveler does not have a move loaded. So if we can farm up to 2, then we should be able to win this match, and we're able to farm up to 2. Okay, we do have a chance here. This Weather Ball takes them out, and back in comes the Alolan Graveler, and Pelipper going for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball takes out the Alolan Graveler. Pelipper able to take down an electric type, and that is a good game. So all in all, I had an absolute blast running Shadow Piloswine. After being a little disappointed running the regular, the Shadow Piloswine was everything I could have hoped for. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's definitely more of a spice pick, so it's not a Pokemon I'd recommend investing resources in if you're looking for a good meta Pokemon to climb the ranks. But if you're just looking for a fun Pokemon to do a lot of damage with, then honestly, you could do a lot worse than Shadow Piloswine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.